In this video, I'm going to show you the basics of modeling a sweep. I'm going to do it in a face-based family, so I'm not going to model it here. I'll model it in the family and then I'll load it back into this project. Here's what we're going to model. I need a pilaster like this. To make this video really fast and short, I'm not going to add in a lot of detail, but I'm going to do an extrusion, another one, and then I'll add the sweep here and here. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I've already taken the dimensions that I need. I've already opened the family. Remember, just go File, New, Family, then go find Generic Model, and you want the face-based. I've already got one open, and I've already started, and this is what it looks like. I've got the very bottom, the first shaft, and whoops, I deleted some stuff out of here. Let me go back. Okay, this is what it looks like. This will be the last shaft. Now, when I look at it in 3D, you can see I've got these sketch lines. I guess you can see them in the reference plan too, but in order to create sketch lines, if you want something like that, you go into your reference plan and you use the LI command, or create lines, model lines. Shortcut is LI. And that's because detail lines don't exist here. So if you want any sketches, you got to use LI, works the same otherwise. I drew these in here just to make this go a little bit faster. I made an extrusion here and here, but I'm going to do the last extrusion for you before we do the sweep, just so that you can see one nice little trick. I'm going to draw the box at sort of a random size, and I know I want the depth to be 9 inches, so I'll change that. Okay, in order to get this thing centered, I'm going to take advantage of the center reference line and dimensions. See, these dimensions say EQ for equal. We'll do the same thing on this one. Dimension to one side, then to the center reference plane, then to the other side, place it, then select the EQ letters, and the dimensions change from whatever number they were to making it equal on both sides. Now I'm just going to pull this in and pull it in a little bit further than the shaft below it, and now you can see what I've got. It's always going to be equal. And I can still give myself another dimension if I want to see exactly what the distance is. In fact, I can even make it a nice number, 1'9". But it's always going to be spaced equally from the center to the edges, and it's always going to be centered directly on that reference plane. So that's just a nice little trick. Okay, this is the beginnings of my pilaster. This is the host that you're familiar with from the last video. And I can pull that host up if I want to. I don't have to do that, but if that makes it easier to kind of see and understand, then go ahead and do that. I don't need my reference lines or my model lines anymore, and we're ready to create a sweep. Now, the reason that I start with extrusions is sometimes they give you the path. And it doesn't have to be that way. You could put your path right here on the host if you wanted to, but in my case, I need my path to go up, over, and back down. And so I have to have some extrusion in order to pick the lines that will allow me to do that and allow me to illustrate. A sweep is a combination of both a path and a shape. And in this case, I'm going to go to sweep. I'm going to pick my path. You are allowed to sketch and just start drawing. And when you do that, it will draw on the host or whatever reference plane you set. But in this case, I'm going to say pick the path, and perhaps I'll start down here at the base of my pilaster. I'll click on this edge as my first line. What happens in a sweep is that it will immediately, after you draw a line, create a plane for you, a piece of paper to draw on, and that's where my shape will go in just a minute. I'm going to finish out my path by clicking the line across the front edge, and then it's going to go back down the side, so I'll click on that too. Okay, that's the complete path, so I'm ready to accept my path, and it stays highlighted for me. I can still see it, but I still have no shape. And again, a sweep would be this path combined with a shape that's going to run along that path. So if I have something already loaded, a profile, which I'll show you in future videos, you can hit the drop down and select your profile. If you don't have one, then you need to edit the profile, which allows you to start sketching. So we'll go ahead and hit edit. You can see it brings up the line tools. The crosshair is an indication of where I need to start drawing, or at least it's a plane. I can probably just show that plane. So I don't have to start drawing right at the crosshairs, but I am going to be drawing on that plane. I'm going to look at this from the front side. Oop, I guess the reference level. Got confused. I want to look at it here so that I can see that plane that I'm drawing on. Okay, it looks like down here at the base of my column, I've got a little cap on top of that base. Okay, and the shape of it would look something like this. It's pretty tall, and it tapers down and just goes slightly past the edge of the base of the pilaster. And a pilaster, by the way, is a column that's engaged with the building, so it touches the building. Okay, and now let's go back into 3D. There's my shape. I can tell it that I would like to accept the shape. And then when I accept the model, it will take that shape, run it around the path, and we'll have a new form. Okay, that in essence is really how you create a sweep. And if you don't like it, just go back in. You can double click or edit that profile again and make some changes. I think I'm going to pull that up a little bit higher, just make it more steep and more noticeable like that. There we go. And then to finish out my project, I've got one more. There's another shape up here just a little ways. And I could create another sweep entirely, or I could just go into this one and edit it and add some of the profile or the shape up here. As long as the two shapes aren't touching each other, then I won't have a problem. And I can use what I've done down here to kind of illustrate. There's a reason why I didn't do these as a singular extrusion. If I had done an extrusion for the bottom and then an extrusion for the top, and they touched each other, you can see it's going to give me an error. If those two didn't touch, but they had any amount of separation between them, I'm going to delete that one. If these two didn't touch, I could accept that and it would create one singular extrusion with two shapes, and they will act together. But as soon as those two lines touch each other, like they did initially, it's never going to let me do that. It's going to tell me every time that it's an error, and if I try to hit the green check mark, it'll just say we can't do it. So I'm going to quit sketching, lose all that. And the same thing is true of a sweep. I can do more than one shape, and as long as they don't touch each other, they can be part of the same sweep. So the advantage here is I don't need to do another path. I've already got a path. So let's select that profile, edit the profile. I'll go back to the reference level again, and I'm just going to move up the line here, and we'll draw this shape, which looks something like this. Comes down pretty abruptly, and then it tapers back. Okay, there's my next shape. And then there's another one up here which just wraps the column. It's more or less just a rectangle, like that. Okay, all three shapes are in place. I'll accept it again because that just shows me the shapes. I always like to look at this in 3D just to see what I'm getting. Accept the sweep, and you can see it almost worked. The reason why it didn't work is because it turns out my path isn't really very good for this, right? Maybe these ones did need a new path. The path is making them just a little bit too low, and there's really nothing I can do to fix that. So just poor planning on my part. I should have done a sweep down here and then a separate sweep up here for both of those shapes. But in order to not waste your time, I'll go ahead and pause the video and fix it. Okay, that was a quick fix. Turned out that the shape was actually just fine. I just needed to pull this shape backward just a little bit. And now you can see I've created my sweeps. I've created everything that I think I need for the pilaster. There's some more decor here at the top in the actual building and in the image, but I'm not going to worry about that. We're ready to go. I'm just going to load this into my project. Don't forget, you always need to name a family before you load it. File, save as, give it a name and location. To save time, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to simply load this as family 1 into my project. Okay, it's a face-based family, so I should be able to just simply place it, and I can place as many as I need. I can even do the same array stuff that I did in the extrusions, so that I could just, sorry, that didn't make any sense. The arrays are in an upcoming video, so if you want to see how to array something, go ahead and watch the extrusion and arraying videos. Otherwise, arraying just simply allows me to place this multiple times across a wall without having to use the copy command, and then they're all equally spaced. So leave them in here for now if you've created something like this. And then when you watch the modeling and arraying videos, you'll know what to do to add more. It's important to note, as my last comment here, that you can also just do component model in place. Go find generic model or any other category, and you're able to start creating sweeps right here in the project. You just need to make sure that, once again, you understand what reference plane you're working from and how to get started that way. And other than that, it's exactly the same.